My male, 25, dad emptied my college fund of over 70 grand to send my stepbrother to private school. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I, male, 25, have been holding on to this for years and honestly just need to get it off my chest. I know family stuff can sound super dramatic on Reddit sometimes, but I swear every word of this is unfortunately my actual life. So I guess I should start with some background. My parents got divorced when I was 12. My dad, Tom, male, 52, had set up a college fund for me when I was born. He was always really big on education. He didn't go to college himself, but always wanted me to, and he put money in that fund consistently for years. We weren't rich or anything, but Dad always made it clear that my education was important to him. I remember him talking about it even when I was like 7 or 8, saying stuff like, "This is your future we're saving for," and all that. I was always the academic kid, I guess. Like in 8th grade, I joined debate club because my English teacher said it would look good on college applications. Who tells that to a 13-year-old kid, seriously? I had been dreaming about going to State's prestigious university since forever because my grandfather was an alumnus. He passed away when I was 14, which still hurts to think about. I used to wear his old college sweatshirt even though it was way too big for me, lol. He always told me I was smart enough to go there, and that meant a lot to me. Things changed when I was 16 and my dad remarried Diane, female, 47. At first, she seemed super nice and interested in me and my school stuff. She would ask about my grades and even came to one of my debate competitions. I thought we might actually have a good relationship. God, I was naive. She had a son, Cody, male, 23 now, who's 2 years younger than me and had some behavioral issues, according to my dad. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of jealous of how much attention my dad gave him right away, but whatever I tried to be mature about it probably wasn't always successful, to be honest. Look, I never really cared about the money itself, just what it represented, you know. But also, the fund had like $70,000 in it, which would have covered most of my undergrad education. So I guess I did care about the actual money too. Whatever. Senior year of high school, I got accepted to my dream university, with a partial scholarship too. I was so excited, I literally printed out the acceptance email. Lol, remember printing emails, and drove straight to Dad's house to show him. I figured we'd talk about accessing the college fund and all that stuff. This is where everything went to shit. So I show up all excited, practically bouncing up and down with my acceptance letter. Dad looks uncomfortable and asks me to sit down. I still remember how my stomach dropped. Dad told me there had been changes to our financial situation, and when I asked about the college fund, he finally admitted the money was gone. They had to use it. When I freaked out asking how this could happen to my college fund that he'd been saving for my whole life, he explained it was used for Cody after he got expelled from public school. He needed a fresh start at some private school with better resources. When I asked about Cody's actual dad or any other money source, my dad said Cody needed it more than me and that I could get loans like everyone else. I can't even remember exactly what else was said because honestly, I was in shock. I can't even describe how I felt in that moment. The fund had been promised to me my entire life, and now suddenly, this kid who'd been my stepbrother for like 2 years got it all. The worst part was how Dad kept justifying it, saying Cody needed intensive therapy and a structured environment at this fancy private school. Oh, and apparently he also needed a car for his mental health. What the frick does that even mean? Meanwhile, Dad had just sold part of his vintage model train collection a few months earlier, which was probably worth thousands. But apparently that money couldn't go toward Cody's needs. And to be honest, I don't even know if Cody had actual diagnosed issues or if he was just a spoiled brat. Maybe that's mean of me to say, but whatever. Wait, I totally forgot to mention that when I got home that night, I was so upset, I literally threw up. I've never had that kind of physical reaction to anything before or since. My mom, Sarah, was furious when she found out. She wanted to help, but after the divorce, she was struggling financially herself. She was working as a dental receptionist and barely making rent. She tried to take my dad to court, but apparently, since he was the one who set up and controlled the account, legally, he could do whatever he wanted with it. My stepsister from Mom's brief second marriage actually sent me $200, which was sweet, but obviously nowhere near enough. I know I probably didn't handle the situation perfectly. I basically stopped speaking to my dad for like 6 months after that conversation, which made family events super awkward. Like once at my cousin's graduation party, I literally hid in the bathroom for 20 minutes to avoid talking to him. Not my proudest moment, but I was so angry I couldn't even look at him. So instead of going to my dream school, I had to decline my acceptance. Most humiliating email ever. Work full-time at a grocery store while taking night classes at community college. I eventually managed to transfer to less prestigious state university and got my engineering degree. But I graduated with about $48,000 in student loans that I'm still paying off 3 years later. Dad occasionally texts me asking how I'm doing. Like, "Hey son, how's the job going?" As if nothing happened. Like he didn't completely derail my education plans and saddle me with debt. But I just give short answers, because what am I supposed to say? I don't know what my dad is thinking, obviously, but from my perspective, it feels like he's trying to pretend everything is fine without ever acknowledging what he did. I'm normally not one to hold grudges. My ex would probably disagree, lol. But this just feels different. This wasn't a small thing. This was my future. I worked so hard in high school to get good grades, and he just took it all away for a kid who wasn't even his biological son. And look, I'm not saying stepkids don't deserve support or whatever, but this was specifically my money that had been saved for me since I was born. Now I basically just exchange brief texts with him on holidays and birthdays. I'm slowly building my career, but honestly, I'm still so behind where I could have been. My engineering job pays decent, but between rent, student loans, and trying to build some savings, I'm nowhere near where my classmates are. I see people my age buying houses, and I'm here just trying to build an emergency fund. Oh, and by the way, I still have to drive the same crappy Toyota I bought for $3,000 in college that breaks down like once a month. Meanwhile, Cody got a brand new car at 17. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe Cody really did have serious issues that needed that specific school. But even then, there had to be another way that didn't involve taking my future from me. Am I crazy for still being angry about this? It's been years, but every time I make a student loan payment, I get furious all over again. Thanksgiving is coming up, and Dad keeps texting about me coming over, but the thought of sitting across from him and Diane and pretending everything is fine makes me feel sick. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up. Thanks for all the responses. To clarify some things people are asking. 1. Yes, I've considered therapy, but it's not covered well by my insurance, and I'm still paying off those loans. 2. No. My dad has never apologized or even acknowledged that what he did was wrong. Not once in 7 years. 3. Cody and I aren't in contact at all. Last I heard from my aunt, he dropped out of college after 3 semesters anyway, which makes this whole thing even more infuriating. 4. For those saying I need to just move on. Imagine working your whole childhood towards something, being promised the means to achieve it, and then having it yanked away for someone else's kid. Then having to watch them waste it while you struggle. It's not that simple. 5. No, I'm not going to sue my dad. From what multiple lawyers told my mom years ago, since he was the account holder and I was a minor, legally the money was his to use however he wanted. Morally, it's a different story, but the law doesn't care about that. Edit 2. Someone asked about Diane. Honestly, I think she was behind a lot of this. She was always talking about how special Cody was and how he just needed the right environment to thrive. Dad never cared about fancy private schools before she came along, but I can't prove it was her idea, so whatever. Now for the first update. My dad emptied my college fund to send my stepbrother to private school, and now he's asking me for money. So it's been about a year. I'm working as a junior engineer at this mid-sized firm. The pay is decent, but not amazing. Engineering isn't always the gold mine people think it is. I still have about $37,000 in student debt, which is like this constant weight on my shoulders, but I finally paid off my crappy Toyota last month, which felt pretty good, I guess. So here's what happened. I was making dinner on Tuesday, trying this new pasta recipe that my girlfriend Emma suggested. She's really into cooking and stuff, when my dad called out of nowhere. This was super weird because we never talk on the phone, like literally just holiday texts for the past several years. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, he was all eager and asking how I was doing and about my engineering job. It was weird. My first thought was maybe he actually wanted to reconnect or something. Like maybe he finally realized what he did and wanted to make amends. I know, I'm an idiot. I was kind of cautious, but answered his questions about work and stuff. Then he said he was going through some challenges, and I just knew this wasn't a social call. He told me the construction management company let him go about 3 months ago. When I asked if he found anything else, he said it's hard at his age to find comparable work. He's been living off savings, but now he's 2 months behind on rent, and they're talking about eviction. Then he asked if I could help him out with $2,800 for the back rent, just until he gets back on his feet. He promised he'd pay me back as soon as he finds work. At this point, the pasta was burning because I was so distracted and my smoke detector started going off. I had to take the phone outside on my balcony to finish the conversation, and it was raining, so I got soaked. Just perfect. I told him I needed to think about it and would call him back. He kept saying he didn't have much time before they'd start eviction proceedings. He also mentioned that Diane was threatening to leave if they get evicted, and that Cody, the kid who got my entire college fund, dropped out after 3 semesters. 3 fucking semesters. Apparently, Cody now works at a cell phone store and has his own financial problems. I wanted to scream, but somehow kept it together. Look, I've completely moved past what happened with the college fund. It's ancient history, except I think about it every time I make a student loan payment and get angry all over again. But whatever. After the call, I was completely rattled. I called Emma, female, 26, over and told her everything. We've been together for 2 years, and she's amazing. She had similar issues with her stepdad, so she gets the complicated family dynamics. She just listened and asked questions, and I thought she was subtly suggesting I should help him out. Later, she told me she was just giving me space to process, not pushing me either way. I spent the next 2 days thinking about it. I looked at my bank account. I've got about $3,600 saved up for emergencies. That's taken me forever to build because of those stupid loans. If I gave him $2,800, that would be half my safety net gone. For what? For the man who took $70,000 that was meant for my education and gave it to my stepbrother who didn't even finish college. I kept thinking, where was his concern for family when he emptied my college fund? Where was this family helps family mentality when I was working full-time at a grocery store while taking night classes because I couldn't afford my dream school? I don't even know why I'm so conflicted about this. Part of me feels guilty for even considering saying no, like he's still my dad, right? But another part of me is just so angry that he has the audacity to ask me for money after what he did. After going back and forth for 2 days and barely sleeping, I finally called him back yesterday. I'll update again once I've processed everything that happened during that call. It was intense. Edit. Since so many are asking, no, I didn't end up salvaging the pasta. It was completely burnt, and the sauce was a disaster. Had to order takeout. Edit 2. For those wondering about Emma, she's been incredible through all this. She actually had a stepdad who took money from her college account too, though nowhere near what my dad took, so she gets it. She keeps telling me that whatever decision I make is valid, and she'll support me either way. Edit 3. Wow, this blew up again. To clarify, Cody and I haven't spoken in years. I don't blame him directly for what happened. He was like 14 when my dad gave him my money, but the fact that he wasted it makes it so much worse. And no, as far as I know, he has no idea my dad is asking me for money now. Now for the second update. Okay, so it's been about 3 months since my last post, and I feel like I should close this whole thing out. So I left off right after my dad called asking for $2,800 for back rent, and I said I needed to think about it. Those 2 days of thinking about it were basically just me having anxiety attacks while trying to act normal at work. I couldn't focus on anything. I made a spreadsheet, engineer brain, lol, calculating exactly how much extra interest I've paid on my loans because I couldn't pay them down faster due to not having that college fund. It came out to approximately $4,200 in additional interest costs alone. That's money I will never get back because of his decision. And of course, my upstairs neighbor decided that was the perfect time to flood their bathroom. Water started leaking through my ceiling right onto my couch. Had to move all my furniture at like 11 p.m. and set up buckets everywhere. I was so stressed, I forgot to eat dinner one night. By Thursday evening, I was a mess. My heart was racing before I called him back, and I kept thinking, maybe I should just help him. he's still my dad, which I guess was guilt. I don't know. Emma kept telling me I could decide for myself, but I could tell she was concerned about how stressed I was getting over this. So I finally called him back. He answered right away, sounding hopeful. I told him I'd given his request serious thought, and he immediately started talking about how much it would mean to him and how he'd pay me back as soon as he found work. I had to cut him off and tell him I couldn't give him the money. He got upset and said it wasn't that much to me and that he wouldn't ask if it wasn't an emergency. That's when I told him he should ask Cody for help instead, since he got all the benefits of my college fund and should be in a good position to help now. There was silence on the phone. Then Dad got really defensive, saying I was being petty and holding on to the past. He said it was years ago and I needed to move on. I reminded him that I was still paying off loans because of his choices and that those loans affect my life every day. I swear to God what he said next made me so angry. He said, "You're being cruel when family should help family." Like, are you kidding me? Family should help family. I actually laughed out loud. I asked where that family helps family mentality was when he emptied my college fund for Cody. I pointed out that he didn't seem concerned about my future when he made that decision. He told me I would regret turning my back on family. I stayed calm and told him that I had to figure out college alone when my safety net was taken, so he could figure out rent alone. He called me ungrateful and hung up. That was it. After years of barely speaking, that's how our first real conversation ended. After that call, I got a bunch of text messages from him. Some were angry. "I've always been there for you." Some were guilt-trippy. "I guess I know where I stand with you now." And some were half-assed apologies. "I'm sorry you're still upset about the college thing." I didn't respond to any of them. A few days later, my Aunt Mary called. She was trying to convince me to help Dad out. My dad had called her saying I abandoned him. I explained the whole college fund situation, which he had conveniently left out when talking to her. Her entire tone changed. She had no idea he'd done that to me. She actually apologized to me for calling. Weirdly, I never heard anything from Diane about this whole thing. I kind of expected her to blow up my phone defending Dad, but nothing. Complete silence. Honestly, that surprised me more than anything else. Maybe she actually realized I was right. Probably not, lol. Oh, and to add insult to injury, during all this drama, I got passed over for a promotion at work. It went to some guy who's been there half as long as me, but plays golf with the VP or something. Just another reminder that life isn't fair, I guess. But whatever, at least I stood my ground with Dad. About 6 weeks after our call, I heard from Aunt Mary that Dad got evicted from his apartment. He stayed with some friends for a while, but now he's living in her basement. And get this, Diane left him. Apparently his financial instability was the last straw, but stealing $70K from his son was totally fine, I guess. But the weirdest part of all this, I got a text from Cody, like out of nowhere. We haven't spoken directly in years. He said he never knew the money for his school came from my college fund. He thought his mom had arranged it somehow. He actually apologized and said he felt guilty about benefiting at my expense. I don't know if I believe him, but it was unexpected. Then last week, I got a long email from my dad. He said he regretted the way things turned out and acknowledged making choices that hurt me, but there was still no specific apology for taking the college fund. It was all vague stuff about making decisions he thought were right at the time and never meaning to damage our relationship. He also said he hopes we can eventually repair things. I feel completely at peace with everything now. Okay, that's a lie. I still think about it almost daily and get angry all over again, but I'm working on it. I wrote back a short email. I told him I don't wish him ill, but I can't be his financial backup plan. I said that while forgiveness might be possible someday, our relationship would never be the same. I told him I needed time and space, and that he needed to respect that boundary. Honestly, this whole thing has just shown me how important it is to rely on yourself and set boundaries. I'm focusing on building my own financial security, already started looking for a better job, and I've found some satisfaction in knowing my dad is experiencing the consequences of his own choices. The family is still fractured, and some issues will probably never be resolved, but I'm proud of myself for standing up for what's right. I don't feel obligated to sacrifice my financial stability for people who clearly didn't consider my needs important. Thanks for listening to my story, Reddit. It helped more than you know. Edit. To answer the most common questions, Yes, Emma and I are still together and doing great. She's been incredibly supportive through all this mess. Edit 2. For those asking about my current financial situation, I'm still working on those loans, down to about $35 now. I've been putting every spare dollar toward them, but it's still going to take years to pay off. Edit 3. Some of you asked if I think Cody was telling the truth about not knowing where the money came from. Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, he was like 14, 15 when it happened, so maybe he really wasn't told the details. But also, wouldn't you question where that kind of money suddenly appeared from? I don't know. I'm still processing how I feel about his text. Edit 4. And no, I did not give my dad any money. I can't believe some of you thought I might have caved. I know I was conflicted in my last post, but come on. Edit 5. To the people saying I'm heartless for not helping my dad, where was his heart when he took my future? I didn't put him in that basement. His choices did. I'm not responsible for bailing him out of consequences he created himself.